them. You need life insurance, and SelectQuote can help you get it at a price you can afford.
SelectQuote found Jacob, 40, who's in excellent health, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month.
Not in perfect health? Don't worry.
SelectQuote found Tanya, 40, who has type 2 diabetes, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $32 a month.
We shop companies like Protective, Prudential, American General, and others to find you the company with the best rates. Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford.
For your free quote, call 1-800-880-7474. That's 1-800-880-7474. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-880-7474.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
A majority of Americans do not support an impeachment of the president.
The website 538.com has tracked the average of impeachment polls showing less than 50% of Americans support impeachment. Breaking it down, among Democrats, over 83% support, which spiked after Speaker Pelosi's September announcement of the impeachment inquiry. But among Republicans, nearly 90% oppose, and it's been staying that way. Among independents, support has fallen 3% since late October to only 43.7% support as of Monday. Taking it all into account, even with the recent House hearings as of Monday, only 47.9% of Americans support impeachment. That's the same number as the day last April when the Mueller report was released. George Manzani reporting.
Some state attorneys general want the FTC to implement better online protections for children to clamp down on collecting information on children behavioral advertising. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Mexico's former top security chief has been indicted in New York City on charges alleging he accepted a fortune in drug money bribes from kingpin Joaquin Guzman's notorious Sinaloa cartel to let it operate with impunity in Mexico. The 51-year-old was charged in Brooklyn federal court with 3 counts of cocaine trafficking, conspiracy, and a false statement charge. He was arrested Monday in Dallas. A caravan of trucks is making its way from Maine to Washington, D.C. for a special journey.
The trucks contain thousands of wreaths made in Maine and are destined for Arlington National Cemetery, just across the river from the capital, where they'll be placed on headstones Saturday to mark the holiday season. Others are being shipped to veteran cemeteries across the U.S. and around the world as part of the Wreaths Across America effort.
Rhonda Rockstra reporting. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
America spends 5 to 10 times more on health care than any other country in the world. Then why does America rank number 43 worldwide for longevity? Third world countries, such as Cuba and Costa Rica, rank higher than the U.S. So what's wrong with health care in America? This is what's wrong. Our $3 trillion healthcare industry is focused on disease management, while 70% of our planet relies on traditional indigenous medicine that is focused on health optimization. Learn how. Join Dr. Dan Royal on the show The Royal Treatment, bringing you the latest information on the best of medicine, biotechnology, and pharmacology, as well as secrets from the past. These secrets have withstood the test of time and are being rediscovered today. In fact, indigenous healthcare practitioners are using them for the benefit of their patients who seek optimal health and wellness. Now, here is Dr. Dan Royal.
Greetings, listeners. I am Dr. Dan Royal, R-O-Y-A-L, just like it sounds, Royal Blue. And I am here every week with the Royal Treatment to answer your health questions. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsors, the Turtle Healing Band Clinic. That's where I work, THB Clinic here in Las Vegas. You can reach us at 702-562-1454. That's 702-562-1454. You can always email me if you have any health questions at droyal, R-O-Y-A-L, at Royal Medical Clinic, all one word, .com. D is in Daniel Royal, R-O-Y-A-L, at royalmedicalclinic.com. We'd also like to thank First Nation Medical Board, which is under the jurisdiction of the Crow Nation of Indians. the Crow Nation of Indians has exercised some jurisdiction over the practice of traditional medicine. They were given this right by the federal government. And guess what? There's not one state in this country that regulates the practice of traditional medicine. That's holistic medicine, integrated medicine, alternative medicine, with the exception of the state of Arizona. Earlier this year, the state of Nevada, if you didn't know, lost its homeopathic board, the only state remaining in this country with a alternative medical board for doctors, that is, I'm talking about MDs and DOs, is the state of Arizona. So doctors like myself who practice alternative medicine need some help. They need dual licensure, and that's where the First Nation Medical Board comes in. It's a very unique board because it also has an institutional review board, an IRB. Do you know what that is? Probably not. But if someone is doing an interventional study, an IRB is something that they can use to gather information about patients to determine whether or not a device, a drug, or protocol is effective. Typically, that's done through a hospital, university, or medical school. It's under the jurisdiction of the FDA. But what we do in alternative medicine are not interventional studies where a patient is assigned to a random group and given placebo. We do non-interventional studies. We, in traditional medicine, are simply looking to see whether or not the things that we use in our practice are effective. And we're not using placebo, and we're not assigning patients to random control groups with crossover studies. So it's an opportunity for us to learn about the things that we are doing and to share that information with others. For example, during the years 2017 through 2019, I conducted a study in my own clinic. We were looking at how nagalase, the enzyme that is produced by viruses and cancer, is lowered with a natural oral supplement. We call it a nagalase modifier. We found that the correlation was very strong. The people who took the oral product had an over 80% response rate within the first month. If they continued for 2 months, then the response rate was now over 90%. We thought this quite definitive, since placebo is anything greater than about 30%. And that study took about a year and a half. We gathered over 30 patients into it. So it was now no longer just a t-test, which is 10 patients. It became a z-test. Those are statistical terms that you may not be familiar with. But what's important is we found that it really didn't matter that we had increased the study, let's say from 20 to about 33 or 34 patients. The statistics remained the same. We could have had 1,000 patients. The statistics may have been exactly the same. And so we gathered that information and we forwarded it to an alternative medical journal just this week to have it published. From time to time, we have published some of the results that we have seen in our clinic with our patients regarding the use of the nagalase test. We're currently doing a study where we're looking at the AMAS test, anti-malignant serum antibody. That is a cancer antibody test, and we are using a little different approach for that. What we do is we expose our patients to light, sound, frequency. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? Certainly it sounds safe. It's something that can be done in the office. It requires a combination of equipment, of course. It can also be used at home, and if you have cancer, you may want to use this at home so you can be treated more frequently. Why? Well, we've actually found that the more frequent the treatment, the quicker the results. For example, we had a patient who came to our clinic. He had a highly elevated AMAS, or cancer antibody test. Now, we didn't know where he had cancer, but the results were disturbing. The test itself has been shown to be predictive up to about 19 months in advance, or about a little over a year and a half. When he came to the clinic, our protocol for treating cancer patients is to do a series of 20 treatments. Now, each treatment takes about 24 minutes. What do you have to do? Well, really nothing. Simply lie down and relax. In fact, the treatment is so relaxing, many patients fall asleep. I had a family member in this week whom I treated for the first time, and he fell asleep during the treatment. So each treatment takes about 24 minutes. We do a series of about 20 before we repeat the AMAS test. In his case, since he was from out of town, we did 3 treatments a day, and within a week, we had over 20 treatments done, and his AMAS test returned to normal. Well, we're going to be taking a break here shortly, but when we come back from the break, I'm going to tell you about a couple of patients for whom we used that test where we were able to show that they did not have cancer when they thought they had cancer. It's very interesting. Currently, we have about 8 patients in our cancer study. When we get 2 more, we will be submitting that for publication. In fact, I'll be talking about a medical meeting coming up in January 2020. So I will keep you posted, but so far, the patients that have undergone that treatment have had a 100% success rate in lowering their cancer antibodies. I'm Dr. Dan Roy. You're listening to The Royal Treatment. We're going to be right back.
Low-dose chemotherapy uses only 10 to 20% of full-dose chemo, and it's known as IPT, or insulin-potentiated therapy. It's one of the safest and most innovative approaches to treating cancer effectively. IPT virtually eliminates side effects of full-dose chemo, such as nausea, hair loss, and fatigue. Could IPT be the answer you've been searching for? To find out, call Dr. Dan Royal at 702-562-1454. IPT uses low-dose chemo with insulin. Cancer cells have up to 20 times more insulin receptors and use up to 20 times more sugar than normal cells. That's why cancer cells thrive while normal cells struggle to survive. One study showed that using low-dose chemo with insulin resulted in a 10,000% increase in cancer-killing ability. Could IPT with low-dose chemo and insulin help you? Call Dr. Royal at 702-562-1454 to see if you qualify for IPT. That's 702-562-1454.
Virginia City is the source of all the richness in the West. While today it brings us a summer of fun with camel races, cook-offs, street vibrations, outhouse races, parades, and many more events, it's never dull on the Comstock. A taste of all this richness can be found at Virginia City Kettle Corn Depot. Our kettle corn is made fresh every day with no additives, just coconut oil, sea salt, and some pure cane sugar. We also offer fresh caramel corn and white cheddar, to which we can add jalapeno. This summer we are adding freshly made cotton candy, and for hot summer days, Hawaiian shave ice, which on special occasions will offer some adult flavors like margarita, daiquiri, and pina colada. You can find Kettle Corn Depot at the south end of C Street, across from the Sheriff's Office. Our long-standing customers have faithfully been returning to Kettle Corn Depot since 2012. Come get your groove on in Virginia City.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now back to the show.
We're back. I'm Dr. Dan Royal, and you, my friends, are listening to The Royal Treatment. Remember, we're here every week to answer your health questions. We enjoy doing that, and the information is free. You should take advantage of it. Why? Well, we're in a different type of medicine. Most of you are familiar with the current insurance model, which is disease management. Your doctors can't help you be healthy. It's simply not possible. They're not trained to do that. They are trained to manage your disease symptoms, and that's what current health coverage is designed to do. Now, there's another type of health coverage or program which is designed for healthy people. In fact, we have an application for such a program. It is sponsored by the Hopi Indian Nation. Well, in this case, you have a low premium and you have a high deductible. Maybe your deductible is $1,000, maybe it's $5,000 or $10,000. But you also have a health savings account. In fact, the family member I mentioned before the break who came in this week for treatment in our Turtle Healing Band clinic used his health savings account to pay for his treatment and supplements. Health savings account is tax deductible. So let's say you have a low premium and it's $200 a month as opposed to maybe $700 a month for an individual. You can put the extra money into a health savings account that you own and that you control and for which you can now pay for health related services. It could be supplements. It could be alternative medical treatments. It could be chiropractic adjustments. It could be acupuncture needles. It could be colon hydrotherapy. You decide, my friend, you have control, but those are, for the most part, things that your current disease management insurance will not pay for. So before the break, we were mentioning that we had done a study, which we recently submitted for publication regarding the use of Nagalase to evaluate how our patients are responding to an oral product. Interestingly, we have found that the Nagalase is also lowered by using the light, sound, and frequency treatment. We monitor patients who are going through the oral or what we call the photon treatment for both Nagalase and AMAS. That's if they're elevated. Oftentimes we find that such patients may have an elevated Epstein-Barr virus. Now, that doesn't mean they just have antibodies. They have a specific antibody that is elevated, which means that the virus is active. They have an elevated EBV early antigen. It's also known as antigen D. So if you're concerned that you may have a active virus, then you should be checked. The family person I mentioned earlier who came in this week thought he had a certain problem. Since he was 40 years of age, he's been getting up during the night to use the bathroom. Now that disturbs your sleep, but it's a common problem, not just among men, but women as well. He thought he had a prostate problem. And he was concerned because a family friend was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, supposedly. Just because you have an elevated PSA does not mean you have cancer. I have patients who have elevated PSA, prostate-specific antigen blood test, and guess what? They do not have cancer. I have prostate cancer patients who've had their prostate removed. Now, their PSA will return slowly and begin to increase. Their doctors panic and tell them that they have cancer. But guess what? The tests that we have done for our patients show that they, in fact, do not have cancer. And I'm going to talk about that and how we know in just a minute. But I wanted to make the point that if you are such a person and you have had your prostate removed and your PSA is slowly increasing, guess what? That doesn't mean you have cancer. It can also mean that your body is simply regrowing normal prostate tissue. So we have to look at both sides of the issue. Getting only one side we call a half-truth, which is as good as an untruth. You need all the information to make an informed medical decision, especially where it regards your health. One of my patients was telling me about her sister-in-law who had recently undergone treatment for her breast cancer, and they had done some radiation. She had a simple fall, but the radiation had made her bones brittle. And when she fell, she shattered her shoulder. That should not have happened. Now, you could dislocate it, you could sprain it or strain it, but it shouldn't shatter the bones. That is a result of medical treatment that she received. We call it iatrogenic disease, chemotherapy and or radiation in this case. But let's get back to how we know that patients do not have cancer. Recently, we sent out an email to our patient list. And if you'd like to be on that list and get free information, you simply contact me at droyal@royalmedicalclinic.com. D is a Daniel Royal, R-O-Y-A-L at Royal Medical Clinic, all one word, .com. We had a young woman. She is about 59 years of age, and we had done some testing on her. Turns out that she had an elevated Nagalase, and she also had an active Epstein-Barr virus. We treated that, and her Nagalase went completely normal. We also tested her for the AMAS test. Why do we do that? Well, when someone has an elevated EBV, or an active virus, that's a cancer-causing virus, and we need to take it seriously. And so, because it was elevated, we need to see if she's at risk for cancer. In her case, it turned out that the AMAS test was normal. Later, she found a lump in her breast. Now, she was concerned that she had breast cancer. We told her it was highly unlikely, since her nagalase had been returned to normal through the use of the oral supplement, and that AMAS was negative. Nevertheless, she had a mammogram with an ultrasound-guided biopsy, and guess what? It turned out that the breast lump was perfectly normal. She, in fact, did not have cancer. But we already knew this because her nagalase was normal and her AMAS test was normal. Let's look at the second patient. We had a man, he's about 60 years of age. He was concerned that he had prostate cancer. Why is he concerned? Well, he has a father who had prostate cancer. He has a brother who had prostate cancer. And he was having some difficulty urinating, which is one of the signs, symptoms of having an enlarged prostate. We did some testing on him, and like the previous patient, we found that he had an elevated or active Epstein-Barr virus, an elevated nagalase, but a normal AMAS test. Currently, he's been undergoing treatment using both the oral product and the photon treatment. But we knew that he did not have cancer. Why? Well, because his AMAS test was normal. Now, it's possible it could be falsely normal if, for example, a chemotherapy patient has gone through treatment and their immune system has been suppressed. You need to have a healthy immune system in order for the AMAS test to work. The immune system needs to be able to recognize foreign agents and to be able to mount antibody response against them. That's how we know whether or not cancer is present with the AMAS test. Anyway, with this particular patient, our prostate man who thought that he had cancer, the diagnosis was confirmed that his prostate was normal by his urologist. So in both cases, we were able to tell the patients, you do not have cancer. Why? Well, because the AMAS test is normal. I have a third patient. She's a breast cancer patient who allegedly had a breast cancer some years ago. She has another lump currently at this time, and guess what? Her AMAS is negative. She simply needs to have the lump removed. But these are the kind of decisions that we can make with the right kind of information. Unfortunately, you can't get this kind of information from the local lab. Why? Because there's only one lab in the country that tests for it. That's Oncolab in Boston. They've been doing it for about 40 years. Same thing goes for nagalase. You can't get that information locally. You have to get it from a specialty lab. And guess what? There's only one lab in the country that checks for it, Health Diagnostics Research Institute in New Jersey. We use that lab and we find it very helpful, which is why we're sharing that information with you and also seeking to have it published because, well, quite frankly, other people need to know as well. Well, what are we going to do during the second half of our segment today? We're going to be reviewing some studies I think you need to know about. I think you'll find very interesting. Now, some of these studies involve drug reactions. You may be taking some of these drugs and you need to know some of the problems they may be causing. And finally, at the end of our program today, we'll be talking about a supplement that you may be taking, but one that we use for our patients, a very potent antioxidant. And we use this antioxidant because it helps to normalize and improve liver function as well as your blood sugar, but also protect you against heavy metals. It's called alpha lipoic acid. We'll be talking about that towards the end of the program. Here's a study you might find interesting. This one relates to disordered eating in young adolescents. This was actually a study that was found in looking at young people who were involved with social media. And what they found is that the behaviors, the eating disorder behaviors, were reported by about 52% of the girls and 45% of the boys, with strict exercise and meal skipping the most common, that were heavily involved with looking or being involved in social media online. line. A total of 75% of the girls and about 70% of the boys had at least one of the social media measures that were used in the study. Social media that was looked at includes Snapchat, Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. These, again, were strongly associated with an eating disorder that affected their shape and weight. So you might want to think about, if you're overusing social media, it could be adversely affecting your weight of your children. Keep that in mind as we go to the break. But when we come back, we have much more to talk about. I'm Dr. Dan Royal. You're listening to The Royal Treatment. We're going to continue our discussion right after the break, but please stay with us, my friend. We'll be right back.
Can your own stem cells heal you? The miracle of life begins when an egg and a sperm unite. They form a single stem cell. Stem cells will keep dividing until directed by the body to become something else. Natural occurring stem cells can be found in all tissues of your body. Can your own stem cells help your body heal and repair itself? Find out more by calling Dr. Dan Royal at 702-562-1454. Dr. Royal has developed the unique patent-pending process for obtaining stem cells from your own blood. Stem cells can be concentrated, prepared, and delivered to areas where you need them most to repair old, damaged, and dying cells. Can your own stem cells help your body heal and repair itself? Are you a cancer patient in remission who needs rejuvenation for optimal health and wellness? Find out more by calling Dr. Dan Royal at 702-562-1454. Don't wait, call today. That number again is 702-562-1454.
As humans, we ask ourselves all kinds of questions. But what if we were forced to ask ourselves a question every day that affected the outcome of the most basic things, the most important things in our lives? The question is, what is your sexual orientation or gender identity? And the answer is the difference between keeping your job or getting fired. The answer is the difference between staying in your home or getting evicted. The answer is the difference between receiving medical treatment or not. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against people based on their answer to this question. LGBT Americans have the right to say I do, but they don't have the same basic rights as everyone else. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult and trying personal problems every day on my TV show, but there's one problem that's just got me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. That's 1 in 5 kids who may not know where their next meal is coming from, despite the fact that there's more than enough healthy, nutritious food out there to feed them all. Now, I don't know about you, but that is unacceptable to me. Luckily, the Feeding America network of good people is out there collecting surplus food and giving hope to hungry children and their families at local food banks all across the country. But let's face it, they can't do it without your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
We're back. I'm Dr. Dan Royal, and you are now listening to The Royal Treatment. We are now entering the third segment of our 4-segment show. And before the break, we were talking about a recent study where social media was associated with an increase in weight, eating disorders that affected size and shape of young people. Remember, my friends, if you have a question, you can always call us here at the Turtle Healing Band Clinic, where I work in Las Vegas, at 702-562-1454. That's 702-562-1454. If you want to email me and you want to be on our email list and get some of the things we talk about on this program and share with our patients, you can contact me at droyal@royalmedicalclinic.com. D as in Daniel, Royal, ROYAL, like Royal Blue, at Royal Medical Clinic, all one word, .com. During this segment, I would like to go through some studies I think you need to know about. And then, as promised, in the final segment of our show, we'll be talking about a very important supplement that we use with our patient called alpha lipoic acid. Here's a study that women need to know about. It affects permanent hair dye and straighteners that you may be using. There has now been an association between these products, these treatments, I should say, and breast cancer. A study found that women who use permanent hair dye and chemical hair straighteners have a higher risk of developing breast cancer than women who don't use these products, probably because the chemicals absorb through your skin, and some of those chemicals, quite frankly, may be carcinogens. Scientists at the National Institutes of Health found that women who use permanent hair dye and chemical hair straighteners have a higher risk of developing breast cancer than women who don't use these products. The study, published online on December 4th this year in International Journal of Cancer, and suggests the breast cancer risk increase with more frequent use of these chemical hair products. The data came from 46,709 women. 46,709. In what was called the SISTER study, researchers at the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, part of NIH, found that women who regularly used permanent hair dye in the year prior to enrolling in the study were 9% more likely than women who didn't use hair dye to develop breast cancer. Among African American women, using permanent hair dyes every 5 to 8 weeks or more was associated with a 60%. That's right, 60% increased risk of breast cancer as compared with an 8% risk of white women. The research team found little or no increase in breast cancer risk for semi-permanent or temporary dye use. Now, the researchers have been studying the possible link between hair dye and cancer for a long time, but the results have been inconsistent. In this study, we see a higher breast cancer risk associated with use of hair dye, and the effect much stronger in African American or Black women, particularly those who are the frequent users. An intriguing finding was the association between the use of chemical hair straighteners and breast cancer. This was something new. The researchers found that women who used hair straighteners at least 5 to 8 weeks were about 30% more likely to develop breast cancer. While the association between straightener use and breast cancer was similar in Black and white women, straightener use was much more common among the Black or African American women. Well, these results obviously need to be followed up on, of course, they always say, because they need more money. But when asked if women should stop dyeing or straightening their hair, researchers said, well, we are exposed to many things that can potentially contribute to breast cancer, and it is unlikely that any single factor explains a woman's risk. While it's too early to make a firm recommendation, avoiding these chemicals might be one more thing women can do to reduce the risk of breast cancer. Why are women getting breast cancer? Why is it an epidemic? Well, we need to think about what we're exposing ourselves to topically on our skin, what we're taking into our bodies by way of food and the air and water. We're surrounded by chemical toxins. And so there are things that we can do to detoxify ourselves. We've talked about in this program from time to time. One of them, of course, is being a more frequent user of the spa. I'm talking about the sauna and the steam room where you sweat. A very interesting study done years ago where patients were given treatment in the sauna for 30 minutes. They did this daily for about a month, and the fat tissue of the patients was analyzed before and after treatment. What they found was that, yes, the patients did excrete toxins through their sweat in the skin, but what was most interesting is that that elimination continued for another month after they stopped using the spa. That's one way to do it. Of course, drinking more water and remaining hydrated helps. We like distilled water because that's the purest form of water. That's water that has actually been not just cleansed, but has been rebirthed and purified. In fact, one of the companies that we work with, they do their own distillation to get rid of all extraneous electromagnetic frequencies that might be encoded on the water, because water has memory and we want it to be pure. But the one thing that you can consider and you can do anywhere in the world is the use of coffee treatments. Coffee treatments can be done to help detoxify the liver, to help hydrate the body, assuming you're using good quality water, and to obviously cleanse your colon. The history of coffee treatments goes back to a doctor named Max Gerson. He discovered the detoxifying capability of coffee enemas or treatments in treating cancer patients when he noted that on his program, using primarily dietary measures such as freshly pressed raw fruit and vegetable juices, patients who expired from cancer did not die from tumor overgrowth, but they died instead from liver intoxication. In his book, A Cancer Therapy, Dr. Gerson stated, in former periods when there was not enough detoxification in my treatment after the tumor was killed, the patient did not die of cancer, but of a serious intoxication with coma hepaticum, intoxication of the liver, caused by absorption of necrotic cancer tissue, as several autopsies have shown. The solution is that all these former failures can no longer occur if there is an intensive detoxification maintained long enough. The liver is the most important organ for elimination and restoration. Only a detoxified liver has both power of resistance and healing. In fact, last week in our cancer part of our program, we talked about the liver and its importance and how to maintain a healthy liver using those products that can help increase our body's production of glutathione. Remember, the liver is the second largest organ in your body. What is the largest organ? Drum roll, please. The largest organ in your body is the skin. Well, from his patients, Dr. Gerson learned that the best way to stimulate liver function and restore its detoxifying capability was through coffee enemas. Caffeine was found to dilate the bile ducts of the liver and stimulate discharge of accumulated toxins. He also found coffee enemas to be effective against chest pain, depression, nausea, nervousness, spasms, and withdrawal from sedating medications like Xanax, very commonly prescribed, or Ativan. Patients quickly noted the relief obtained through the use of coffee enemas. Experiments have shown that after 10 to 12 minutes, almost all caffeine is absorbed from the fluid. It goes through the hemorrhoidal veins, directly into the portal veins, and then into the liver. In Dr. Gerson's detox program, 2 to 3 coffee enemas daily was deemed appropriate. Now, of course, this is in an inpatient facility. According to Dr. Gerson, the only danger the patient can arise from insufficient detoxification, not enough coffee enemas. In other words, you really can't overdo it. And the possible poisoning of the liver. Eventually, Dr. Gerson concluded that cancer was the ultimate result of a poisoned liver that was no longer able to efficiently perform its function of detoxification. He said, cancer is not a single cellular problem. It is an accumulation of numerous damaging factors combined in deteriorating the whole metabolism after the liver has been progressively impaired in its functions. In short, it is believed that as long as the liver is healthy, the body has a functioning healing apparatus. However, when the liver becomes poisoned, clinical symptoms of environmental intoxication may not be noticeable for many years. Nevertheless, if the liver metabolism can be restored and the body can be sufficiently detoxified, the healing apparatus can be reactivated. So as I said, coffee treatments can be used to do 3 primary things. 1 is to cleanse your colon. 2 is to hydrate your body, because that's the primary function of the colon, is to absorb water. So use good quality water, filtered water at a minimum. And 3rd, and most importantly, it helps to detoxify your liver, the largest organ in your body. In fact, every night when you go to sleep, what does your body do when you're sleeping? This is why it's sometimes important to take base powder or trisalts when you go to bed at night, because your body needs base to detoxify. This is what happens when you're sleeping at night. That's when your liver and gallbladder go to work. In fact, if you have problems with your gallbladder, it's going to wake you up between the hours of 1 to 3 in the morning. So that's what's happening when you're sleeping. And if you don't have enough base reserve in your body, enough alkalinity, that is, which you can get by eating more fruits and vegetables, but you can also take base directly if you need it. Guess what your body's going to do? It's going to steal from other sources. It is going to take base in the form of calcium from your bones. That, my friends, is why we have an epidemic of osteopenia and osteoporosis in this country, perhaps even throughout the world, because people are too acidic. They need more alkalinity. And if you don't have it, bad things can happen. Well, we're going to continue our discussion after the break. There's much more to talk about, and certainly we want to get to everything related to what I mentioned earlier, that is the supplement alpha lipoic acid. Like my family member who came in earlier this week, and maybe like all of you, he's taking some supplements from cheap sources, like you might get at Sam's Club, Walmart, and Costco and so forth. That's okay unless you have a medical problem. If you have a medical problem, you need to take only professional quality products. And I say that sincerely regarding what we're going to be talking about next, alpha lipoic acid. This comes from a company we work with that does journalistic investigation. I don't know any other company out there that does it, and I've been working with them for over 25 years. They're highly credible. They have integrity. Those are the kind of companies you want to be affiliated with. I'm Dr. Dan Royer, listening to The World Treatment. We're going to continue our discussion right after the break, so please, my friends, stay with us.
Targeting cancer cells with DMSO reduces the need for full-dose chemotherapy by up to 90% because DMSO targets cancer cells, not healthy cells. Research demonstrates that DMSO, also known as dimethyl sulfoxide, has an affinity for cancer cells, which also allows DMSO to enter them even when DMSO is carrying chemo drugs. Could low-dose chemo with DMSO be the answer you've been searching for? Find out more by calling Dr. Dan Royal at 702-562-1454. When low-dose chemo is combined with DMSO or insulin, it's called potentiation therapy. This is because the cancer-killing power they create together is much greater than when they're administered separately. Are you a cancer patient who wants more than disease management? Could low-dose chemo help you achieve optimal health and wellness? Call Dr. Dan Royal at 702-562-1454 to see if you qualify for low-dose chemo. That's 702-562-1454.
Wainema Ranch Wild Horse Sanctuary, a preserve dedicated to keeping America's wild mustangs and burros running free. Wainema Ranch, 29 miles north of Reno near Hallelujah Junction. An amazing site to visit. Over 130 of God's majestic animals at home on the range. Experience the beauty and wonder. Give at WainemaRanch.com. That's WYNEMA Ranch.com or call 775-384-4444. Wainema Ranch.
Hello, I'm Omer Raines, author of the international best-selling book, Back to the Summit, How One Man Defied Death and Paralysis to Again Lead a Full Life of Service to Others. Now in its second edition, Back to the Summit has been reprinted in countries worldwide. All profits from the sale of this book go to support humanitarian causes of lasting importance. However, the principal reason for writing the book was to inspire others who, like me, have been faced with a major medical challenge. Back to the Summit is available in hardcover, paperback, or as an ebook. An audio edition is also available. Whatever the modality or format, it can easily be ordered on Amazon or from your favorite bookstore. Whether you read or listen to Back to the Summit, I hope that it will serve as an inspiration to you or to someone you know. Again, I'm Omer Raines. If you wish to learn more, my website is SenoRaines.com. That's SenoRains.com. Have a wonderful day.
Ready for a live game of Clue? For nearly 30 years, Funtime Theaters held private and monthly dinner murder mysteries. Each night is different, and each event includes dinner and a show. You're the detective, and your job is to figure out who did what to who and why. At the end of the night, a super sleuth and not so super sleuth are awarded prizes. This is a great event for a birthday or holiday party and team-building events for your office. Visit funtimetheater.com to make your reservations and use promo code RADIO for $5 off each admission.
You're invited to join Business Connections with Anita every Wednesday from 10 to 11 a.m. here on 1180 a.m. KCKQ America Matters.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
We're back. I'm Dr. Dan Royal, and you are listening to The Royal Treatment. Yes, we're still here. We're now in the fourth quarter of our show, and thank you for being with us. Hopefully, my friends, you will have learned one new thing by having listened to our program today. That is my goal for you. And if so, our time together has been well spent. You know, I go to many medical as well as legal seminars over the years because I'm both a licensed physician and attorney. So I need to have continuing education for both of those professions. And I've always found that my goal when I attend these meetings is to learn one new thing. Why? Because that one new thing may change the way I practice for my patients or my clients. But if you're learning one new thing, let's say from a book that you read, that one new thing could be $1 million idea. So make sure that whatever you're doing with your life, by increasing your knowledge, that you are always learning at least one new thing. That's a relatively low standard, don't you think? But there have been times when I have read a book and learned nothing. So let's be careful about the sources that we use and refer to our friends so that we're making the better world by improving ourselves and those around us with good information that is reliable. Remember now, if you have a question, if you would like to get some free information, you can always email me directly at droyal@royalmedicalclinic.com. That's D as in Daniel Royal, ROYAL at Royal Medical Clinic, all one word, .com, or call us here at the Turtle Healing Band Clinic, THB Clinic, 702-562-1454. That's 702-562-1454. And we also have other providers who are actually quite competent. In fact, we have new therapies that we're going to be introducing soon. I'll be talking to you about, such as plasmapheresis, but we also use exosomes. We use PRP. We use stem cells, and we do it very well. We do it very effectively. We do it differently than other people do. And we're going to be talking about that in future programs and emails to come. But right now, we want to talk about a very important supplement called alpha lipoic acid. Now, within every cell lies the ability to produce one of 3 antioxidants that your body makes. Your body makes 3: superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione. Remember, glutathione is the liver detoxifier. Retired professor of surgery at Montreal's McGill University, Dr. Gustavo Bogman, said glutathione is the body's most important antioxidant because it's within the cell, every cell in your body. Now, alpha lipoic acid is known to raise your glutathione level, offering untold health benefits. Let's take a look at some of those benefits. A December 2017 study published in the Swiss journal Frontiers in Neuroscience noted that a healthy body has small amounts of formaldehyde, but that with aging, formaldehyde increases, which increases your risk of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Remember, those are not the same thing. Alzheimer's disease is one form of dementia. There's also vascular disease dementia, as well as Lewy body dementia. The study demonstrated that alpha lipoic acid efficiently eliminated formaldehyde in mice and increased glutathione in the brain. The study authors concluded that alpha lipoic acid's ability to detoxify formaldehyde could help Alzheimer's patients. In the February 2018 Journal of Biochemical and Molecular Toxicology, a study demonstrated that alpha lipoic acid has a protective effect against arsenic-induced testicular and epididymal oxidative damage in rats. Arsenic caused significant reduction in the reproductive organ weights, serum testosterone levels, testicular daily sperm count, epididymal sperm count, sperm motility, sperm viability, and sperm membrane integrity. Alpha lipoic acid, the supplement, negated the testicular and cauda epididymal oxidative stress and restored the male reproductive health in arsenic-exposed rats. In the Journal 2017 Journal of Basic and Clinical Physiology and Pharmacology, researchers concluded that in animal studies, alpha lipoic acid restored liver damage caused by aluminum, while also preserving zinc and iron levels, which are normally depleted by aluminum exposure. In the April 2016 Brain Research Bulletin, researchers concluded that animals exposed to aluminum were restored by treatment with alpha-lipoic acid, noting its potential to improve cognitive functions. An enviable, therapeutic candidate for the treatment of neurodegenerative disorders. In the February 2017 Journal of Toxicological Science, Japanese researchers found that alpha-lipoic acid protected rats against dioxin-induced damage. Dioxin is a class of environmental pollutant made by garbage incineration and steel making, and unfortunately is everywhere in the environment. The study authors noted that low amounts of dioxin poisoning can affect normal bodily development of offspring, learning memory, and sexual organ health. They added that low cell energy status in developing embryos causes the same developmental disorders. The study authors concluded that it is expected that alpha-lipoic acid, the supplement, could be used as an agent to alleviate various developmental toxic effects caused by low energy, as well as dioxin exposure. Now, keep in mind that these researchers are testing and recommending a natural supplement product, not a drug. In the July 2016 Romanian Journal of Morphology and Embryology, Turkish researchers found that alpha-lipoic acid played a protective role against PCB, polychlorinated biphenyl, another environmental toxin. This induced testicular toxicity. Researchers concluded that the presence of the protective effect of alpha-lipoic acid against the toxic effects of PCB on the male reproductive system was demonstrated. The present study is the first study of its kind to investigate the antioxidant effect of alpha-lipoic acid against PCB toxicity in the testes. PCB2s, like dioxin, are everywhere, and we simply cannot completely avoid them. In July's 2016 Environmental Toxicology, researchers noted that alpha-lipoic acid partially reduced the damage of mercury-treated rats by its antioxidant pathway. In June 2016's International Clinical Psychopharmacology, researchers used alpha-lipoic acid on patients taking atypical antipsychotic medications. This made them gain significant amounts of body weight when they were taking it. It's an unfortunate side effect that can lead to other health problems. But in a 12-week study, alpha-lipoic acid was effective in reducing weight and abdominal obesity in patients with schizophrenia. Moreover, alpha-lipoic acid was well tolerated throughout this study. Alpha-lipoic acid might play an important role as an adjunctive treatment in decreasing obesity in patients who take atypical antipsychotics, not to mention patients who take no drugs at all. Middle ear infections induced in pigs were reduced using alpha-lipoic acid in July 2016's Journal of Laryngology and Otology. Researchers concluded that alpha-lipoic acid, with its antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and tissue protective properties, may decrease the clinical sequelae and morbidity associated with acute otitis media that we see so common in children. In the December 2015 Toxicology and Industrial Health, alpha-lipoic acid protected rats against damage with two pesticides, chlorpyrifos, CPF, and delametrine, DLT, which of course none of us have heard of, but there are two more to add to the list along with dioxin and PCBs. Cadmium and arsenic also were noted to be blocked by alpha-lipoic acid, according to the study published in Comparative Biochemistry and Physiology in August 2013. The study found that alpha-lipoic acid served as a chemical protectant against cadmium and arsenic induced in sea crustaceans. Researchers linked the protection to alpha-lipoic acid's ability to raise glutathione levels. Back in October 1989, A study in toxicology demonstrated that alpha-lipoic acid protected against cadmium-induced toxicity in rats as well. Well, I'm Dr. Dan Royal. You've been listening to The Royal Treatment. We're talking about alpha-lipoic acid. And, of course, you make that available to our patients as part of their supplement regimen for a very potent antioxidant that helps to improve liver function, regulate blood sugar, as well as protect you against environmental toxins. We're here every week to answer your health questions. Hopefully your time, my friends, has been well spent, and you have, in fact, learned one new thing. If so, your time with us has been well spent. Remember, you can always reach me at droyal@royalmedicalclinic.com. D is in Daniel Royal, ROYAL, at royalmedicalclinic.com. We'll be back next week with another episode of The Royal Treatment. Until then, my friends, may you all be well.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad.